Good afternoon and welcome back to our WHTOO's channel. And once again, for those of us who don't know what WHTOO stands for, it's a double acronym. It stands for We Have to Own Our Own Shit. Now, not the typical profane shit. This shit stands for S, scalability. We don't just want to start a business, we want to grow a business. H stands for honoring the ancestors that we and shoulders we stand upon. The why is you are your own brand. And a person is going to buy you before they buy any product or service you offer. And the T stands for tenacity, because being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. With that being said, we are in for a treat. We have Attorney Stokes with us today, and Attorney Stokes is a partner with E&M Banks Law Firm. How are you doing today, Attorney Stokes?
I'm doing wonderful, Renard. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure and it's an honor for you to accept the invitation. And I would like to jump right into it. And first of all, I want to let our audience know we're going to have a little pivot from our normal format today because Attorney Stokes is going to take us down several different tracks of her journey. So, with that being said, Attorney Stokes, you can give us a little information on E and N Banks-Ware Law Firm, and let us know what kind of law you practice and what you do.
Sure. Um, E.N. Banks-Ware Law Firm. I am a senior associate, not necessarily a partner, just to clarify that. But E.N. Banks-Ware is E. Noreen Banks-Ware. And so Attorney Banks-Ware has been practicing in DeKalb County for, I want to say, about 35 years. And she specializes in family law and estate planning, and I joined the practice in 2021. So I'm very happy to say I've been here going on 5 years. I'm a senior associate. I'm her only senior associate. I specialize in family law cases. I don't do the estate planning side. That's her side of the firm. I also do criminal defense and juvenile law and child welfare law. So that's my background. But we're located in Stonecrest. So we're off of Panola Road. But to be honest, I tell people all the time, if you have a case anywhere in the state of Georgia, I'll handle it. So we don't just practice in the metro, we practice all across the state.
Awesome. Now, part of the thing and part of the reason why I said we're going to pivot, because obviously the channel is we have to own our own shit. And as Attorney Stokes just said, she doesn't own this particular law firm, but she did at one point own her own law firm. And so, from our conversations previously, it was very interesting picking the mind of someone who's brilliant but saw the necessity of less work on the pivot. And so, with that being said, as an African American woman in law, you've experienced both exceptional entrepreneurship and partnership at a high level. What are some of the truths about ownership, pressure, responsibility that a lot of people they only hear the glory, the glamorize, but rarely discuss in public?
Uh, I mean, that's a wonderful question. The truth is, if you can't afford to protect your practice, then
Mm,
you can't afford to run your practice. You know
mm,
what I mean? Some people see big dollars. You go to law school and they definitely sell you on the idea that you are stepping into a career that's going to be automatically lucrative, right? Um, it might be, and there is the potential for that, but your motivation isn't just to make money. You need to provide an excellent product to your customers, to the community, right? To the community at large. And I went to Howard, so I was raised and trained to be a social engineer, right? You were going to affect your broader society and your community with what you know. And of course, it will benefit you ultimately, but you have a bigger goal in mind. So anyway, going back to the strains or the things when it comes to running your own practice or just kind of doing your own thing. it's just a risk. And there are certainly businesses out there that have better marketing and advertising and, you know, can get all the posts and the reposts and the social media and everything. That's going to bring in money. Now, does that mean they have long-term success? Not necessarily, but it there were certain things that I knew I wasn't willing to do as a business owner. I didn't necessarily want myself out there on billboards. Some people, that's ideal for them, and I love that. It wasn't comfortable for me at the time in my life when I was running my practice, which was in the early 2006, 8, somewhere in that range. But I was successful for quite a season because I had contacts based upon my other cases, and I was able to leverage those contacts to build a practice. It was called the Criminal and Family Law Group, and it thrived for, I want to say, about almost 10 years. And then I shifted and I started working for Atlanta. I worked at the municipal court as a prosecutor for the city of Atlanta. And then I went back to doing family and criminal defense significantly. And then I got picked up by Attorney Banks-Ware. So yeah, I've seen the positive side of doing your own thing, but it's a lot. And it was certain sacrifices that I wasn't willing to make. And like I said, you have to be able to afford to protect your business if you're going to run your business. People don't think about the insurance coverage, the liability, the malpractice insurance, and making sure you're always up on all your coverage if you own your own business, because there's always liability.
You know, when you just took my second question away because it was so interesting when you said protect your practice, and I was going to ask you to dive into that to say what exactly does protecting your practice mean, and you kind of covered. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little more, but that was the question. I was like, okay, a lot of people, do they understand what protecting the practice is? Because they see us out. And by the way, I sell malpractice insurance also.
You know what it is.
Right. But even with me, I own a real estate company and I own an insurance agency. And people don't realize, that's E&O insurance, liability insurance, and especially if you have a brick and mortar, if somebody comes in there and they fall down, slip, get hurt, all of that stuff. We're in such a litigious society that they don't realize all that.
I
So,
mean, that's exactly, I agree. And you couldn't have said it better. And it's those kind of concepts, especially considering I got out of law school in '04. So I wasn't schooled on that. I didn't have a business brain, to be honest. But yet, when circumstance hit circumstance and what I needed to do was start my own practice, I did it. But I also knew from a business mindset, I wasn't quite prepared for it. And I mean, I felt like I could have pursued it further and certainly probably thrived. But this was a better direction for me at the time. You know what I mean? If you want a steady paycheck, you want someone to cover insurance purposes. For you personally, we're talking medical, dental, vision, all those things. I mean, in the way insurance has gone up in the last 12 to 18 months, it's crazy. But even going back, like I said, about 10 or 15 years, I recognize that the cost of doing business is very high. People see companies out here and they don't realize they're spending significant money to make money. And you have to be able to do that. And you have to have the brain to do that, which, and some people do. And I admire them for that. It wasn't my skill set. I just knew I know law. And so it was a benefit for me and for this firm for me to come in and bring my skill and what I can add to the conversation. I'm a rainmaker. I bring a lot of clients to the firm. I know law. I know what I'm talking about. I'm an excellent litigator, so I'm good in the courtroom. But in terms of running the practice, I can allow other folks to do that. Now, certainly, I can see myself running a practice again in the future. I'm not saying it's off the table, but when I was fresh out of law school, it was just the strain outweighed the benefit. You know what I mean? There was just so much potential liability.
mm. You know what? You almost making me cry in here because you pulling at my heartstrings because my background is I used to work for, I was about to say their name, but one of the larger wirehouse in the investment space. So I have my securities, I mean, my Series 7, 6,
Yeah.
66, and 63. And it was costing me money to let some wirehouse hold these license. And I
Yeah.
wasn't making them. It's like every month, I'm in the hole every month. I have to make up that amount of money that I'm letting you hold my license in order, right off the rip. And then I started saying, and just recently, in September, I think it was September, I let my securities license go because I was like, is it ego? And a lot of people are like, oh man, why would you let them go? I'm like, well, first of all, I wasn't doing nothing when I was
No,
making
I'm not doing anything
I
with
was
it.
making more money with my insurance license than I was with my securities license. Because unfortunately, our community, and that's 100% was my target, we don't deal with stuff we don't understand. And sometimes we have a misconception that if they don't understand it, nobody who looks like them really understand it.
Hmm.
And so I was saying, and I said, am I holding these licenses for ego or is it for profit? I'm like, because I'm not making any money with these
Right.
licenses right now. And so I let them go. And, I had to hear that flack. Oh, man, those licenses, they're too hard to come by. Like, yeah, they were. But I said, I'm focusing on my insurance practice and my real estate practice.
Yeah, like with the things that are actually making you money as opposed to paying something for the hopes that that will bring in some amount of revenue just because or whatever. But I do want to add, I don't want to take away many of us, people like us, don't recognize the skill set of borrowing money, right? I mean, that's one thing I wasn't in a position to do when I own my own firm, but a lot of people, that's the unspoken magic trick, right? A lot of the majority folks, they know like, oh, let me just go get some money from somewhere else. I need them to front me money. I'll promise them I'll pay them back. I'll use that money to make more money and tell these other people like, and that's the game. And that's what you're supposed to do. So I don't want to take away from the fact that skilled business folks, go borrow you some money, get you some loans, get you some promises, get you some credit, and you can thrive. You know what I mean? But there's always a sacrifice. There's a give and take.
It's a fine line with that leverage and the ability to know that people gonna want something back. But if you don't have your own skin in the game, it's gonna cost you. Even in the real estate market, when people say, "Well, what do you think about these down payment assistance programs?" I say they're phenomenal if you need it, but keep in mind it comes with a cost. Whether that's going to be a bump on your interest rate, whether that's going to be residency restrictions or how long you have to stay in the property. I'm like, nobody is giving you anything for nothing.
Mhm.
So
Like you
that
said, if it doesn't cost you now, it may cost you
it's,
later.
it's, it's going to cost you later. It's going to cost
Yep.
you later. And so, with that being said, with TOOS, we focus on the truth, the real, the trials and tribulations. And looking back, when was there a defining moment when you realized that evolving your path and joining forces with, let's say, E&N, was the right strategic move for you and your career for long term?
Oh, well, certainly it my previous firm wasn't a good fit from a cultural, personal standpoint, right? I love what I do and it's an excellent firm, but it didn't fit for me at the time. And I guess some folks could say COVID was a part of the precipice in that season because it was kind of between 2020 and 2021. But the shift for me, I guess, career wise, was knowing I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it with the best people that wanted me and that I knew would also pour into me and benefit me. So I'm going to benefit them, they're going to benefit me. I needed that mutual relationship because I honestly, where I'm at in my career, I could go work for any firm. Um, I mean, and I say that not boastfully, but I know I
It
bring
ain't
enough
bragging
to
if
the
it's true. It ain't bragging if it's true.
I know I bring enough to the table, and especially in the state of Georgia, as we say, it's a small community, to be honest. Even in the entire state of Georgia, there are a lot of folks who know each other. And so I believe my reputation in court, outside of court with my colleagues and professionally. Anyway, the point is, I could be anywhere else. It's all about making that choice for you personally and professionally. Like Attorney Banks-Ware, just to, of course, give her kudos and a little bit of time on here, is an excellent litigator. She's an excellent attorney. And so I thought coming into a space where I know she's well experienced, her reputation precedes her, she's respected, intelligent, and she's willing to pour into someone like myself. And so, as much as I already had my position in the community, in the legal realm, I knew I was coming someplace higher. And to me, that makes sense. If I'm going to give up what I'm doing or kind of let go of this direction, I want to go higher. And this was that opportunity. So I look forward to a long career here. And certainly, if for some reason I move on to somewhere else, I think it will still be a benefit to myself and Attorney Banks-Ware. I hope I'm bringing something to this firm. Yeah, yeah.
So, Attorney Stokes, one of the most interesting parts of your journey is the transition from owning your own firm to partnering with E&N Banks-Ware. For many entrepreneurs, pivoting can feel like a failure. What did the transition teach you about leadership and growth and redefining success?
I think you're only a failure if you stop. There's no failure until you stop moving. You still got to
Mm.
put one foot in front of the other. I was happy to have my experience at the City of Atlanta Solicitor's Office. Um, I was under great tutelage there. I learned a lot. It was another phase of my life, but certainly in terms of growth, I didn't see myself becoming the solicitor of the City of Atlanta. Like that gentleman had been in that position for going on 30 years, even when I got there. So it became a concept of the pivot needs to make sense. And I, as you said, Reynard, there shouldn't be any shame or guilt or regret, right? If maybe you're going down this path, but you're I'm always the type of person, keep your eye on the long-term goal, keep my eye on the prize. So if the path turns left or turns right, as long as I'm still going toward the goal and the prize. Honestly, I feel like I've achieved my goal in my lifetime to just be a practicing attorney. And anything else I can do is gravy. It's like I'm helping people every day. I'm serving my community. I'm certainly trying to benefit the firm that I work for, the other attorneys that I work alongside. It's to me that's my constant focus. So the fact that I'm doing that on any level is a win, right? So there's no such thing as failure. Even when you lose in court or you don't get the job or you do have to shut down your practice, right? Like it's only a fail if you stop. There's still so many opportunities in life. And even as much as I talk about the law, um, it's not all I am, right? If I wasn't a lawyer, I'm still a good person and I know I can bring something to this world. I'm just thankful that I have the opportunity to do law in the way that I can. It's just a blessing.
So, what advice would you give a lot of African American professionals that feel that, hey, I have to go out and do this on my own. I have to build this on my own. I have to prove myself. And even with you, how did you balance um, professional ambition with the ability to say, you know what, and the wisdom to say, you know what, it's going to be good to collaborate?
Oh yeah. I mean, and I do have to step back to say, honestly, as you said, do this on my own. I've never gotten anything on my own.
Mm.
It has always been based upon the relationships and the path that has been set before me. As you said in the tagline, like we give honor to those who came before us, our ancestors. Nothing in my life has been on my own. So I'm thankful for the relationships. When I first moved to Georgia, the first thing I did wasn't just apply for a job. The first thing I did was volunteer with the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys.
Mm,
I didn't ask for them to help me, I helped them.
mm.
Right? I wanted to serve. That was when I tell you literally, it was January 2006 when I moved from DC back to Georgia. And in January, we have MLK Day. And so my first opportunity to be involved in that organization was through service. And I was honored to do it. And the person that I met that day is the person that has helped me and mentored me and supported me all the way here we are in 2026.
Mm.
And that particular attorney, not, and honestly, she never gave me a job, but her influence, her support, and her assistance in my life, just believing in me and giving me a kudos and saying, Deidre, I was happy to see you and thanks for coming out to volunteer. And we have other things for you to do, and we just want you to be involved, led me on a path that brought me to my job today. You know what I mean? Because Attorney Banks-Ware hired me through our personal relationship. It was nothing to do with my resume, right? She already kind of knew me, but she also knew of me. And that was the blessing. So I think to your point, someone to even think, well, I got to do it on my own. First of all, you're never on your own. Anyone that's around you, you need to be offering, and they will also be assisting you. That's the environment, that's the mindset, and you're always going to succeed if you're willing to support or be of service, right? Just to people. Like you offering to have me on this program was you being of service to your community and your audience. You know what I mean? And so I was honored to do it. Anyone who says, "Well, I got to do it on my own," like you're thinking too small. You're thinking too small. There's so many people and so much for you to do for the world, right? When people get focused on what can I do for me, you're thinking too small and you're missing it.
Well, when the conversation that we had, and I just felt your spirit and how it was resonating. And again, for those who watch the show, they know I have three daughters at home. So my mission is to empower women financially. And as I told people in other episodes, that wasn't always my mission. I said I'm a reformed male chauvinist. I said, but
Look at you. Look at
yeah,
you.
when I got those girls, and I'm like, shoot, I want them to be able to go out there and get it. I want them to have equal rights. I don't want them to have to deal with a glass ceiling and have all these barriers put in front of them by being an African American woman, African American and a woman. So I said, what can I do to get some exposure? How can I highlight other sisters who's been the backbone of our communities that's going out there getting it? And I said, I want to make sure that that's one of the things that I do. So the majority of my interviews have been with females, with sisters.
Amen.
And
Listen, I've
so,
looked over them and they are all excellent. I was honored to be invited, honestly.
and so kind of wrapping it up, getting to the now, when other young Black attorneys and other entrepreneurs watch this interview, and when they see all the titles and the accomplishments and the accolades, but not the sacrifices behind them, what advice would you give them to someone wrestling on the decision to, hey, pivot, partner, reinvent themselves professionally without feeling like they're giving up?
Oh, goodness. I would say, um, I mean, pray about everything. You got to pray. You honestly pray, having that communication with your higher power. You know, I trust God, I trust the Lord, I trust Jesus. But for whoever you are, you got to pause. There's a level of light because no one can tell you what your situation should be. And if you're
Mm,
looking for that level from the exterior, then that's why you're conflicted, right? That's why you're feeling like, what's missing? I need to know what to do. You've got to pause and ask yourself, again, what do I bring to the world? What is my purpose? And obviously your purpose should align with you surviving. Everybody wants to make money. So I'm
mhm.
not saying just do something and just because you want to be lucrative and do the best you can for yourself and your family. But I would say certainly look internally. And then the next thing is be very connected to some level of community or what a gentleman told me, my individual counselor and coach said, your board of directors, right? Who would you look to if you did have to say, okay, this is the idea on the table. Tell me your thoughts. Is it yes, no, this direction? You want to be receptive, and then just go forward. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid of failing, because there's a lot of success in failing. It might appear to be a failure. It might appear that it didn't go through that time, but the person who saw you doing the thing that you were doing that didn't work actually respects your hustle and respects your intellect and respects what you bring to the table. So then next thing you know, you're leveraged on to the next thing and the next thing, and you're where you never thought you even wanted to be. You know what I mean? So again, I always think don't think too small even about yourself. Don't put yourself in a box. So the pivot just might be, I wasn't necessarily destined for this. And there's a level of letting go, though, Renard. That's the beauty of it. Let go of things having to be the way you necessarily saw it or thought it should have been. And as what is it? Robin, what's Robin's name? She's a world-renowned speaker, and I'm mad I lost it, but it's the let go theory. Like you just let go of what has to be and lean into what is. You know what I mean? I would definitely be an advocate of that for people who have to pivot to different jobs, different opportunities. You might end up being a judge somewhere or on the county commission. You know what I mean? Your legal career could take you a lot of different places that maybe you didn't outline or project.
That that is precious information, and it goes back to what we say here. It's the real, not the cookie cutter. Not everything goes the way you plan. And obviously, to be intelligent, you have to be able to make a decision and say, you know what, this is not working right for me right now, or this is not working the way I envision. Let me do something else that's going to extend, whether it be my career, my longevity, my ability to produce and earn a living for my family.
Yeah.
And so I have been honored to get that wisdom and that knowledge, and I hope our audience will appreciate the jewels of wisdom that you drop. And is there anything that you want to leave us with? Any way that the audience can reach out and connect with you, or whatever you want to give us, the WHTOOO audience? We're here for it.
Well, I want to thank you again. The WHTOOO audience, I think is just really cool. I love the fact that we were divinely connected through this opportunity. I'm glad I didn't say no, and I'm so glad you invited me. No, I just want everybody to live their best life. You know what I mean? If I can be of service or of help, certainly you guys can find me online, wherever, look me up. I'm an attorney in Georgia, so you can find me. But even for bigger and better things in the future, I want the best for you, Reynard, and your girls. You are a wonderful girl, Dad, and I just thank you for today.
Well, thank you so much. And with that, remember, like and subscribe. Keep watching us. We're going to be doing big things, and we're going to have Attorney Stokes on again, and let her keep on spreading that knowledge and sharing with us. And take care. It's a pleasure.